Hey, what's up everybody? Thank you for tuning in to teacherslearn2.com and Teachers Talk 2. This is episode number 6 and today we are talking about reading, Osmos, and lesson plans. So let's get started with episode number 6 right now. So our first question today comes from @ClayRay1111 on Instagram. She commented on a picture that I posted and she says, I would love to know if you do small group reading instruction. If so, what do you focus on at that time? I do daily 5 with 4 10 to 15 minute small groups each day. Well, great, ClayRay1111. That's awesome that you're able to do that. And I hope it's working out for you. I do things a little bit different in my classroom. We do have the Daily 5 program in our school, but I have kind of taken that apart a little bit and make it work for my room because I felt like it wasn't working the way I wanted it to or supposed to work, the way the book says it. So I've broken that down and I do reading groups a little bit different as well. So I don't do any guided reading, actual guided reading lessons and groups with our reading series until later in the year. I don't think my kids are developmental ready for it. We know that reading is a developmental skill. I'm not saying that I don't have readers, but I'm doing other things with those readers. The way that I start doing small reading instruction is I start whole group. I don't start anything small right away with that kind of stuff because I want them all to understand it, and I'm not going to waste my time doing a small group 4 times if I'm teaching the same exact thing. So I start with the basic skills of reading. We start with, page turning and how to operate a book. Those kinds of things that 4 and 5-year-olds don't understand or 5 and 6-year-olds don't understand. So we start very basic with those kinds of things. We start focusing just on letters and sounds and then sight words. So the beginning reading for my classroom, the beginning portion of our year is all based on sight words and understanding sight words in text, finding sight words in text. I do a lot of like sight word searches, and then any little books that we make, we use highlighters or markers. We call it buttering up the popcorn words. So we butter up our popcorn words and we find those popcorn or sight words in books, those words that pop up all over the place. So that's how I start my small group reading. We start at whole group, so it's a little bit different than others might do it. But we start whole group, and at the beginning of the year, any little book that we make together, we go through as a class. And we sit back here in front of the smartboard, and we all do it together, and we find those words and we read them aloud. And then that transitions into reading to someone time. So I take that portion of the daily 5, and I don't necessarily do it exactly the way they do it, but I split them up into partners. You're going to see pictures of the way they do that, and we sit around the room and they read their small books that they've made. And I use those little books that they've made because it's something they're comfortable with and they can take pride in it. So they've made those little books. We've practiced and practiced and practiced finding the sight words and understanding picture-word relations, and they read through them in them. So a lot of the individual or small group is happening as we read to someone. Then I transition to read to self. I want them to understand that they can read to others, but then we transition to the read to self time. So they understand that when I actually do a read to self lesson, they're finding the places around the room to read, but then that kind of transposes into them reading to themselves on their own. So during stations, if they finish an activity, they know they can go grab their reading folder out of their cubby and practice the books that they've worked on. I've got a tub full of whisper phones that I've made out of PVC pipe, and they use those to read to self. So we take portions of the daily 5 like you mentioned, ClayRay, but I break it up into my station time too. So I always have a word work station going on. I always have a word sort station going on. I always have a reading station going on. I always have a writing station going on. So we're taking those portions of daily 5 and just making them work for me. Now I'm not saying that's going to work for everyone. I'm not saying what you're doing isn't working. A lot of people I know find great success following the daily 5 program to a T. I just don't feel like that works for me in my classroom. So whatever it is that you are doing with small group reading instruction, if it's working for you, keep it up. If not, feel free to use my ideas, breaking it down into smaller sections of the daily 5 and doing them at your own pace. I don't feel like the daily 5 or reading is something that has to be paced for everyone the same way, or every teacher from every class each year. So I know that my class last year could do things differently or might not be able to do things that my class is this year. I think it's one of those things that daily 5 should continue to be a resource. It shouldn't be your Bible. It shouldn't be what you're following to a T. I'm not saying those ladies have done anything wrong because the program is great and it does work for others. But I think in kindergarten, the day differs so much from day to day. They're not a group of kids that need that strict, structured routine of reading at this age level. When it comes, it will come, and it needs to be fun for them. So again, I'm not putting down a program. I'm not putting down what any of you are doing in your classrooms. I'm simply sharing my idea, and that's my opinion on reading. What I'm doing works, and that's why I'm doing it. So my daily 5, or whatever you want to call it, daily 3, whatever I'm doing, broken up into my stations, and then broken up through our reading block throughout the day is when we're covering all of our reading activities. So whatever's working for you, keep it up, great. If not, feel free to try my ideas, shoot me a message, send me a comment if you have more questions about that. But thank you, Ray1111, for the question. Hope that answers it. All right, guys, the second topic today, and the second question I had actually came from someone important to me. My mom sent me a question through Facebook asking about Osmos. And you know, I've done videos before, and a couple videos on YouTube and Facebook posts and Instagram posts about the Osmos. But my mom's question was, what age levels are these good for? And the answer is right on Osmo's website, playosmo.com. They say they're good from kids 1 to 99. And really, any age could use these. I like using them for the Newton puzzles. The drawing app Masterpiece. Actually, it's very, very detailed and very difficult. Some of the kids can build up to that, but it's an amazing, amazing tool for any age. So as an adult, I like using it. I like playing it with the kids to do the verses on the Words app where you can race them to spell words. But really, it can be challenging for any grade level, any age level, kids and adults. So that was a great question. I know others have asked that before, and I've kind of just answered real quickly, but this way I'll get it out to all of you. It's for kids of any age level and adults too. You can play puzzles and games and all kinds of challenging things on here. And I know that they're going to continue to release more apps and more add-ons for this that will become more challenging, I'm sure. So great question from my mom, but an amazing idea. So it's a great tool no matter what age, and it will make great Christmas gifts as long as the person you're giving it to has an iPad. Don't forget, it is used with an iPad. So that is the answer to that. Thanks, Mom, for asking that question. Love you. All right, guys, and our last and final topic today is kind of a touchy one for some teachers and some schools, I'm sure. So the person that sent this to me through an email asked me to leave their name out of it, so we're just going to say this is from an anonymous Teachers Talk 2 viewer, and you'll see why when I read the question that she asked me. This says, Adam, I'd love to know your thoughts on lesson plans. My administration is very strict about standards and goals being in our lesson plans, and I don't always agree with that. What do you put in your plans each week, or what thoughts and suggestions do you have for that? Well, this can be a touchy subject, and I can understand why people have questions about this. I've been in schools where they require much, much more than my school does. I'll tell you first what my school requires. They require that our plans are there. And they require that our plans are there in case an emergency arises and we have to leave the room so that somebody understands what's going on in the classroom. With that being said, I don't write out detailed plans every single week for what I'm doing because I've been here long enough to know what I'm doing. And at kindergarten, specifically, my room revolves around these kids. So I have my main plan, and I have all the topics and ideas that I want to cover for the week, and I am looking at the standards, and I have the standards written down on my newsletter that goes home, like my I can statement, so I keep that open too, so I know that I'm hitting all those topics that I'm telling parents that we're going to hit. But I don't have very detailed plans written out for each week. My detailed plans are on my computer, and I have them typed out for the week. I do them each week, but I never print them off unless I know I'm going to be gone. If an emergency arises and I know that I don't have time to print them out, I'm fortunate enough because my wife works in my building and she knows how to access my plans to print them for a sub, and also my neighbor teacher knows how to get onto all my stuff on my computer to get that stuff out. So as far as my plans being out and available, they're not all the time. My administration knows that I'm doing my job, and I feel like the same way in your building, if you know that you're doing your job and you're doing it right, there's really no question as to what's in your plans. If you've been teaching as long as I have, I've been here 11 years, I'm sure it doesn't even take that long, but you know how your week works and you know what is going on in your classroom so well that you don't really need those plans in front of you each week. It's more so a resource. Just like all my manuals and things are resources. I don't revolve around my plans. I work based on my kids. If I have in my plans that we're going to do a math test today and I can tell the kids are not ready to take a math test, I'm not going to do it. And we'll do a different activity to review, or we'll do an activity during math to practice other skills. But that's why my plans aren't very detailed. As far as in your question about standards and goals, my plans don't necessarily lay out the goals that I have or the standards that I have, those are more so on my newsletter that go into parents. So like I said, on my computer, I have pulled up my newsletter each week, and every day it's up as a hidden document so that I can continually remind myself, that I'm hitting this and hitting this and hitting this. But again, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're already hitting those goals anyway. What my plans do look like, I'll share this with all of you. It is on my Teacher Pay Teachers store for $1, my layout. I don't believe in spending $15, $30 on a pre-made teacher plan if it's something you can create yourself in Excel. So mine is an Excel document. The only reason I put it for $1 is because it took some time to create, but it's fully editable. Mine is broken up for my day with times and different things, but my plans also are completely detailed for a sub. So whenever I'm going to have a sub, you won't see me writing detailed sub plans because my week-to-week plans that are on my computer are already completely detailed for a sub. So like I said, if I know that I'm going to be gone, or I know that I'm going to, or if there's an emergency that arises, all I have to do is click print, and it's already printed out for the week, for the day, and detailed enough that a substitute will know what's going on. Within those plans, on mine are all the detailed information that sub would need to know for my building, like phone numbers around the building, or where recess is, my fire escape routes, my tornado drills. Everything is in there. That's not on there for you on my Teacher Pay Teacher store because that will differ for you. But the item on the store that's $1 is the layout that I use, fully editable for you, but already detailed for what you might need for a sub. So check that out on Teacher Pay Teachers. Just search Adam Peterson. It's my layout, and you'll be able to see what I have listed in there for all of my plans throughout the week. But to go back to your question, your thoughts on that, my thoughts on that, that's tough. I've been in buildings and I've visited classrooms where they have to have the standards on the board, where the standards have to be written in their plans each week, where it's writing a lesson plan like we did in college. And I can't say that I 100% agree with that. That shows to me almost a lack of trust in the teacher. I get that we have to know that we're meeting those goals and we're doing those things, but if you're doing your job already, and I talk about this all the time in my sessions at conferences, I don't focus a lot on the standards because I know that if I'm doing my job, I'm hitting those standards. We were all taught to teach a certain way, and we're all taught that these standards are what we need to be reaching. And I think any good teacher makes up activities or follows lessons that are already hitting those goals. So I don't feel it necessary to have the standards and goals in place in front of you all the time. Is it important to have those standards met? Yes. Is it important that we're hitting those goals that we create for ourselves? Yes. But does it have to be written out on a piece of paper each week? I don't think so. So whether or not you agree with that, I'm sorry. That's my opinion. I'm not trying to start an argument. This anonymous person just asked me for my thoughts on that subject, so there you go. Those are my thoughts. And then in my plans each week, I kind of answered that. Are everything detailed enough for a sub? So all of my lessons, all of my manual page numbers, because a sub uses the manuals more than I do. I also put in there how to access everything on my computer with my subs folder that I talked about. And if you haven't seen that video, check it out on YouTube at www.teacherslearn2.com. And I show a very, very basic way to set up sub plans for everything to do on your computer. So check it out. It's a teacher quick tip called sub plans. But I hope, anonymous question answer, I'm not going to mention her name because she asked about the administration thing. I understand that it can be frustrating. Unfortunately, if your administration requires it, I don't know there's much you can do other than talk to them and show them this video and show why they think, or why I feel, I'm not an expert, but why I feel that it's not necessary if they're doing their job. I really hope that answers your questions. I know I talk a lot about that, but things like that are very, very, I guess, important to me because I don't feel like everything that's required of us all the time is the most important thing to be doing in our classroom. And teaching and being with these kids and just doing your job is what's most important. And whether or not somebody wants to question that and how you're doing it, that's their problem, not yours. So that's my thought on that. Maybe the same as yours, may not be. I'm sorry if it's not, but she asked for my opinion, so there you go. Alright guys, so that is it for episode number 6 of Teachers Talk 2. Thank you for tuning in. I really, really, really appreciate the support and the questions more than you will ever know. Again, check us out on teacherslearn2.com and be sure to follow all of our pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Share it with your teacher friends. Tag everyone you know in these videos. And please, please, please subscribe to teacherslearn2.com on YouTube. We will be back soon with episode number 7 of Teachers Talk 2. Get your questions in now so I can get those ready. But this was episode 6. Again, I am Adam Peterson from teacherslearn2.com. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.